You know what
Backpacking America
is, right?
It's fucking awesome.
It's Backpacking America, an analytical podcast. All right. So we got a very interesting episode. Well, I wouldn't say interesting. It's a little bit of a change of pace. Today we're going to just be going over really bad takes on the internet, specifically Reddit. So there's this forum called r/bad takes. And the first one we're going to be looking at is the claim that wearing a mask makes you a femboy. This one was put out by Marjorie Taylor Greene for Congress. She says that, and they put in the disclaimer that it was removed by Twitter. She said, children should not wear masks. It's unhealthy for their psychological, emotional, and educational growth, especially boys. Forcing boys to wear masks is emasculating. Masculinity isn't toxic nor dangerous. Democratic socialism and shutdowns are. Mortality, 43 states and New York City reported. Children were 0% to 0.3% of all COVID deaths, and 19 states reported 0 child deaths. In states reporting 0 to 0.7 of all child COVID-19 cases resulted in death. All right. Wow, that is a lot. All right, that's a lot to unpack. First off, children need to wear masks because they're just as contagious and able to spread the disease as an adult. The only children that don't need to wear masks is if they're under the age of 2 because they don't understand it. And it's just like, you pick and choose your battles, okay? It takes a village. That saying exists for a reason. It takes a village. It's unhealthy for the psychological, emotional, and educational growth. You know what else is unhealthy for all of that? Death. Dying. Death. Being buried in a box. You fucking idiot. Yeah, I mean, a lot of kids are having an issue, with socializing. This will obviously affect them after COVID is over with, but these are issues that could be worked through. And we really don't have much of a choice. I mean, this is a real issue. Like, people could die from this, and so could these children. So, I mean, could they be a little traumatized after this? Sure, but honestly, they're going to get traumatized anyway at some point in life. I mean, this happens. COVID, of course, is putting a damper on education. I've seen that as a college student. I've heard complaints from my friends that are teachers. I've heard complaints from, friends of mine that actually have kids now. Weird. And of course, how it affects the psychological and emotional health of a child, of course, but it's not due to wearing a mask. It's due to COVID-19. It's not the mask causing all of this. Now onto the boys part. I don't know how wearing a mask is emasculating. In any that I don't even know. That's just such a stupid take. I mean, I don't know why you think it's emasculating. I mean, I guess that I can't even see or make up a reason as to why you think it's emasculating. That is the dumbest take. It's a pretty bad take. I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10. That's a 10. That really is a 10. She then says masculinity isn't toxic nor dangerous. That's correct. Yeah. Being a man is not toxic or dangerous. Being masculine and identifying as that is not toxic at all. What's toxic and what makes something toxic masculine is like trying to think of a good example. Trying to think of a really good example. Like men can't cry. That's toxic masculinity. And that's dangerous because it's you're suppressing an emotion, and that comes out in a different way. So it'll come out in anger, it'll come out in addiction, it'll come out in, how you go to work. how you drive a car. It'll come out in other areas because your body needs to express itself and the feelings it has. So if you don't outwardly express it, you'll express it subtly in different ways. So that's what makes something toxic masculine or dangerous. Masculinity in and of itself, like just saying, yeah, I'm a man and I think I like being a man. That's not toxic or dangerous. That stuff is toxic and dangerous, and that's just one example of many that I could give. We have a lot of bad shit to weed through, so I'll get your plunges ready. Democratic socialism and shutdowns are toxic and dangerous. Yeah, shutdowns, I guess, are toxic, yeah, because, we're literally shutting ourselves out from other people, which is terrible for the human psyche, which is why we need to wear the mask, stay indoors, and fight for this vaccine so that way we don't have our hospitals overwhelmed and we can go back to being regular humans. That's why over the summer we were able to do that, and it was safe to go out to bars for a little bit and partying and chill because the cases weren't exploding like they were in March and April. Duh. That's duh. Democratic socialism being toxic or dangerous. Honestly, every democratic socialist I've met has not really been toxic, nor are they even remotely close to being dangerous. I don't even think most of them own guns. So, yeah, most of them I know farm or they take cute pictures with their cats and say, yay, register to vote. So they're really not that dangerous. In fact, AOC is more a traditional Democrat than she is a progressive. Just judging off her voting record. Don't cancel me. The mortality rating thing. This is just a copy paste. They just cropped it from something. I don't even know where that's from. So yeah, that's pretty dumb. This one is great. Black Lives Matter was started not by black people, but by white Marxist lesbians. Okay. What the fuck? They viciously use the black narrative as a vehicle to legitimize an attack on the nuclear family. They have received millions of dollars in donations they use to pay demonstrators to go from town to town and demonstrate. They have never helped anyone but themselves. Black people should stand up against it. Once again, they are being used. The roadblocks are illegal and the worst thing they could do to further their cause. However, it brings out the TV cameras, and that is what they want. Airtime. All right. Oh. I'm pretty sure Black Lives Matter was not started by white Marxist lesbians. Oh no, this is real. This is a real thing. But it wasn't even started by white people. That's the funny part. What this dude doesn't understand is that there's two Black Lives Matters. There's the what the hell was it? The corporate one, like the non-profit Black Lives Matter. And then there's Black Lives Matter, which is just the social movement. The millions of dollar claims that they got in donations to pay demonstrators, they don't pay demonstrators. I don't really know what the nonprofit does. I think they'd like pay for speakers, or maybe they give the money out to people that need it. But I don't think like I've never gotten paid for protesting. I've been to a lot of fucking protests, so I don't. If that's true, where's my paycheck? It's kind of like the George Soros thing they throw around. Oh, they're paid to protest. No, they're not. I've literally never gotten a check, and honestly, if someone was getting a check to protest, we'd find out who they were, and we probably would tell them to not come near us at all. They viciously use the black narrative as a vehicle to legitimize an attack on the nuclear family. That doesn't. What does? What is the black narrative? What is that? Define that. Is it that, racism is an issue? Is it that this is a white supremacist country? Is it that this is a colonial country that, created racism to subjugate the laboring classes from revolting? Because in 1692 there was a rebellion in Virginia that was interracial, and then the bourgeois was like, we can't have this again. Is that the black narrative? Because it's correct, and it's not the black narrative. It's just reality. like that's just class reality. Um, and BLM is not Marxist. They're like the farthest from it. Uh, I mean, like the absolute farthest from it. It just encompasses everyone that believes Black Lives Matter. That's why you have center right Democrats, um, coming out and saying Black Lives Matter, and then going to brunch after, and then you have the hardcore communists and anarchists that are there trying to do other mass line work on top of it while standing for Black Lives Matter. There's so many people in the mix here. It can't be characterized as one as the other. An attack on the nuclear family. Not once has anyone in the Black Lives Matter movement talked about the nuclear family. Like it's specifically whenever there's a Black Lives Matter rally, abortion's not mentioned, gun rights aren't mentioned, free speech isn't mentioned, the Fifth Amendment sometimes is mentioned. What's the whole point of it is just to protest incidences of police brutality and to make it known that the governing bodies or the police or both in those cities need to understand the issues of how racism affects policing, how it affects governance, and how it affects the communities, and how we need to take more consideration into understanding that racism needs to be abolished and that we need radical alternatives to dealing with centuries of racism, colonialism, and separation. That's really what's talked about in Black Lives Matter. Not the nuclear family. To me, I feel like the author of this comment was really trying to say the white family, and Black Lives Matter as a whole really doesn't care about the white family, not in the, yeah, we want you to suffer, but you're not an issue for us. What's an issue is racism and white supremacy and how we're not rectifying that we are a colonial nation and we still have a lot of those characteristics and apply them to minority groups. Duh. They've never helped anyone but themselves. I mean, what does that mean? Like, who is the they in this? Black Lives Matter as a whole, the leadership, and, what are you referencing here? That's so, like, like fluid. That's my noise for fluid. I don't know. That's so stupid. I mean, I don't know. I've seen a lot of organizers, give their time to help other people and risk their legal status, their economic, their jobs, their lives, to be on the front lines of this. Some people I've seen have been opportunistic. There are always opportunists in every movement, but for the most part, I've seen only good things. So I can't. This is stupid. Black people should stand up against it. Well, you should open a book or maybe be, on the front lines of this to see that because stand up against what? Black Lives Matter? Why would black people do that? And even so, it's none of your business. You can't tell a whole group of people to stand up against something that's actually helping their group. Once again, they're being used. How are black people being used by Black Lives Matter? The roadblocks are illegal, and the worst thing they could do to further their cause. The roadblocks. Stopping transportation is what hurts the economic capability of a society to function. Personally, I think that it's a good tactic, so long as they just let ambulances or emergency vehicles through, except cops. But other than that, I really don't have an issue with it. You just want an excuse to run over protesters. What I kind of get from this. Well, actually, no. That's a valid critique. That I've seen that critique around, but the people that make that critique don't really understand the economic strategy here. However, it brings out the TV cameras, and that is what they want, airtime. That's not the specific goal. If airtime happens to be there, it happens to be there. We're doing it for a good cause. And I say where because I was protesting at those things, and I have friends that do that. So where. Let's see this other take. What is this? Okay, I don't care. You don't care about poor people. Poor people got so excited until they found out it's paid. Do you really think you should hype up a game without mentioning the price at first? No. What kind of game company does this? What? Huh? Okay, I don't care. You don't care about poor people. People poor got so excited until they found out it's paid. I'm pretty sure this is how product advertising goes. I mean, everything costs money. Everything costs money. So I don't this is just stupid. What kind of a game company does this? Every game company. If it happens to be free, that's cool. But like when a new product is advertised, the price is never mentioned because you're just trying to hype up the product and that's being released. Usually when I'm looking at an advertisement, I'm assuming it's going to cost money. So what? Let's see here. I'm trying to find something. No. Some of these are just so stupid. I don't even know how to respond to them. Bernie holds rallies. Oh, this is great. Bernie holds rallies in big spaces, and then burners say, look how big his crowds are compared to everyone else. Well, maybe it's because other candidates aren't holding events in huge spaces. I'm sure Amy could get just as many people. No. There are plenty spaces. There were plenty. Okay, so this was made in February 17th, 2020. This was when the DNC was doing their thing, the election or whatever for their party. The reason Bernie had a large turnout is because he was actually popular. Biden, Klobuchar, and all these other people held rallies in similar sized arenas and spaces, and they got maybe 10 people to come to a giant hall, and it was just empty, Amy could not get as many people. I think she was polling at less than 1% at one point. So no, that just is stupid. Ooh, these are terrible. Oh, this is all from 10 months ago. Oh, this is great. What I love about incidents like this, the booing of Hillary at a Sanders rally, is example after example of white male rage and misogyny. Okay. This is in reply. This is a quote tweet written by Neera Tanden. Oh, this is great. This is great. Okay, so there's an original post by an account on Twitter called Neera Tanden Endorses Slavery. And this account says she deserves a lot worse, actually, but you're not allowed to say what it is. But if you'd like a hint, just remember what happened to a lot of the other rich pieces of shit who had literal slaves cleaning their colonial mansions. The Neera Tanden being clowned quote tweets and says, what I love about incidents like this, the booing of Hillary at a Sanders rally is blah, 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 white male rage, misogyny, blah. No, it's actually a really... No one likes Clinton because she's a warmonger. I mean, she is literally the most corrupt career politician ever. Her husband destabilized Yugoslavia. I think he drafted NAFTA. and she was part of that. She was, she would totally bring us into war. She was a terrible candidate. She did so much shady shit from like the 80s all the way up to like the 2000s, especially as the Secretary of State. She oversaw the destabilization of Libya. No, no. Hillary Clinton has a lot of bad shit that we can rail her on. There's no, it's not white male rage and misogynistic to boo a literal war criminal. Trust me, I boo at Hillary just as I boo at Trump, just as I boo at Biden, and even when I boo at Bernie. Because Bernie does some weird shit too. And AOC and the squad. Everyone gets equal criticism before me, okay? And really, most Sanders people are like that. They're like, yeah, bro, like we criticize everyone. Just this old dude happens to be our best bet, and we like him. Let's move on. That was pretty funny. It's confusing. Oh no, this is a bad one. Okay, I need a drink of water for this because this is a really this is rough. This is rough. This is rough. Okay. It's confusing, but I find it helpful to remember that a Jewish person can be anti-Semitic. Bernie Sanders being patient zero since the only thing he cares about is helping the poor, and usually Jews aren't poor. Shake my head. Instant block if anyone tries to twist this reply. Okay, let's break this down a bit. That a Jewish person can be anti-Semitic. A Jewish person can't be anti-Semitic. A Jewish person can, like, uphold anti-Semitism, knowing full well, or at least pretending to not know, that the system they're, supporting is against them, really, but they're trying to benefit from it. It's like black cops saying that, like, they're not racist, but they're supporting, an organization that indiscriminately targets black people at a higher rate than white people and is brutalizing that community specifically, and they ignore, the crack epidemic and how the government fueled that crap through the neighborhoods and shit. That's a whole other topic for another day. So you can uphold the system, but you cannot actually be like anti-Semitic or racist if you're in that, category. But Sanders is not anti-Semitic. Now, when I was first reading this, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a Palestine-Israel thing. But it's not. And the fact that this person is like, usually Jews aren't poor. Dude, that is so dumb. What? Where are you from, motherfucker? Jewish people can be just as poor as anyone else. Just because you happen to know Jews or are a Jew that isn't poor doesn't mean most Jews aren't poor. I mean, a lot of Jews, especially like in other countries around the world, are communists or they're impoverished minorities. So Jewish people internationally definitely are poor. And in the United States, yeah, there's poor Jewish people. There are poor Jewish people. You can't. This is such a stereotype. It's ridiculous. And to say that Sanders is anti-Semitic because he wants to help the poor and say that, oh, well, Jews aren't poor, so he's anti-Semitic because he doesn't want to help Jews. Just because Sanders is Jewish does not mean that he has to say, yes, I'm only helping the Jewish people. I am a Jewish politician. Christians help non-Christians when they're in office. So does that make them anti-Christian? No. The fuck? This is the dumbest take I've ever seen in my life. I'd say this is like, honestly, this is like a 10 out of 10 too. This just takes the cake. I mean, like, you literally went from, yeah, I want to help the poor and I happen to be Jewish, to you're anti Semitic because I believe most Jews aren't poor. And here's the thing, too. If he's about, so say that was a logical argument, right? Um, if it says usually Jews aren't poor, that must mean that there's like a minority of Jews that are poor. So does that mean that he's anti-Semitic even though he's helping poor Jews? Or is it because he's not specifically helping Jews that he's anti-Semitic? And he's not open about that. Like, what? It makes no sense. It really makes no sense. Um, I'm a Democratic primary voter. I will never vote for Bernie in a primary or in general. He's not a Democrat. Bernie is dangerous as Trump. He's a socialist just like Trump. This is probably like my favorite argument against Trump is that he's a socialist. Um like I say this with sarcasm. I love how the Democrats like are trying to reclaim patriotism and like end up pushing farther to the right than the Republicans on patriotic issues. Like, no, we're patriots. We're better patriots than you. And they'll like do cop work harder than the Republicans will. Um, Bernie's not dangerous at all, nor is he as dangerous as Trump. Nor is Trump a socialist. Like, Trump literally was going to bomb Iran, and for funsies, he said, nah, pull him back. We just wanted to say we can fucking do it. You know, I'm Donald Trump. I'll bomb you if I feel like it. And then he bombed one of their generals. Um, that dude's dangerous, and he's not a socialist because socialists are against imperialism. Uh, Being against imperialism is not a bad thing, and not at all, really. Trump's only saying he's pulling the Afghanistan, pulling soldiers out of Afghanistan, out of the wars, because he wanted to win the election, or he wanted to just make himself look so good as he left office that people would actually vouch for him and believe his claims that the election was frauded. It's all an angle with him. He's no socialist. He hasn't redistributed wealth. He hasn't nationalized any industry. Jobs have not come back here. Those new coal jobs that were supposed to be in Pennsylvania never really came back. And if they did, they were through private corporations, not through government-owned plants. Unions are non-existent here. There's no union strength. Under a socialist country, there would be a strong union presence. Trump is not a socialist. Bernie is a democratic socialist because he doesn't believe in full redistribution of wealth. He just wants to make it so that you can't be an uber billionaire like Amazon or Tesla. And yeah, so basically Bernie's not really a socialist. He's like, let's just level the playing field a little bit and give everyone health care and call it a day. America, and that's basically it. So Bernie's not a socialist. Trump is not a socialist. And Chris, who posted this saying he's not a Democratic Party voter, is very correct. Bernie is not a Democrat. He's an independent. He's a Democratic Socialist. And yeah, he's not. You're right. He's not. But the second claim is really what I have an issue with. Now on to the next one. Okay, so this guy, his contempt for women is pretty obvious. And you came to that conclusion how? It's fascinating, by the way, that I am expected to justify having an opinion. Would you have reacted the same way to someone with a male name? What? Dude, I hate Twitter so much. Like, let me tell you about Twitter. Twitter is probably, it's the place where your brain cells go to die. It's where you literally just say the most fucked up shit possible, say that it's a political opinion or that it's a social point or critique, and it's a valid one because you put it out there, and it fucks everyone up. I have never seen so much stupid shit come out of people's mouths in real life because of what they saw on Twitter. Now, I admit, Twitter has done some good things. There's some valid critiques like, hey, men, you gotta wash your ass. There's some men, they don't wash their ass. You gotta wash your ass. That's valid. There's people saying, hey, listen, man, if you're ashy, wear some fucking lotion. And then they make fun of you for not wearing lotion if you're ashy. That's okay. That's a valid critique. That's honestly like, listen, dude, shave your balls, wash your ass, and put some lotion on. Okay, fine. But this shit like this is where I want to kill myself. The fact that it's like, oh, if you question someone, it's like, you're being sexist. You're racist. You're asking me to justify myself. What? They're like, what? Like, dude, like, it's not that serious. I feel like if you go on that app and literally are just like, I disagree with this, you'll be called every buzzword in the book first before you actually get someone to critically engage with you. And like, making mistakes and asking questions, even if they're, really stupid questions, is how we learn as people, and they should be treated as learning experiences. And people that consider themselves woke or revolutionary are like, it's not my job to teach you. Dog, if you consider yourself a revolutionary, you have to teach them. Like, it's literally part of being a revolutionary. Mao Zedong went along with his band of 10, and they recruited more communist cadre that were literate, and they explained the tenets of communism to the illiterate peasants, and that is how they had a communist revolution, because everyone learned what communism was without reading. And then what happened was they ended up establishing special programs after and during the revolution, so that way people could start to read and then read the stuff for themselves and then question it, and then society developed. Duh. That's how it works. That's how it worked in Cuba. That's how it worked in the Soviet Union. That's how it worked in China. How it worked in Venezuela. It's just how it works. You have to explain things over and over and over again, and it takes patience. A lot of people too, they just do this for social capital. Like, they're like, Black Lives Matter, and then, they go say some racist shit. Or they post a couple of things on their Instagram story to look good and look like they're socially conscious, and then they're like the most reactionary people I've ever like stared at in the face before. And there's hypocrisy. I mean, oh my God. There's some people, this is my favorite thing. Favorite thing, hands down, Instagram or Twitter. If you went to a party, you're a piece of shit. If you went to the bar, you're a scumbag and you're the reason this country sucks. Well, dude, I hate to break it to you, but I also saw you at like the bar last night. Or, oh, didn't you post a party on your private story? It's always the people the loudest about something that are doing that something. Like, if they're the loudest about COVID restrictions, they're the ones mostly breaking COVID restrictions. If they're the ones, just screaming about being anti-racist and they're white, they're most likely racist, and they're realizing they were, and they're trying to absolve themselves of that guilt of realizing that they were wrong of that. And they're not really understanding that, as white people, we have like this socialization to uphold white supremacy. And, the way white people and black people look at what America is very different, like completely different. Hence the two Americas. So, they're probably feeling really guilty about that. And because of the way, cancel culture is and the way, social capital is, if you admit that you were racist or you've done racist things in the past, but you're trying to learn and be better for it, there's the fear that they're going to be canceled, or that their friends are going to dislike them, or that they're going to be excluded from social circles, or that they're not going to get careers. So a lot of this is motivated by a lot of anxiety and careerism and opportunism. And that's not how you learn. Y'all, if you did some fucked shit in the past, forgive yourself and try to help people. Like, move on. It happened. You learned. There was an intervention. Now it's over. Now you're a new person. Don't shame people for being in the same position you are or were in. Duh. It's common sense. That's what I hate about Twitter activism and like what I see on Instagram with all those stupid story posts. Like the ones where it was like how to be a better ally, or just like here's some suggested readings, and it's like, okay, like suggested readings, some of them are pretty good. My issue is that none of them really touch on class, because what people really focus on is race. That's not a bad thing. You need to work through race to get through class understanding. You need to make sure that your organizing space, your revolutionary space, is inclusive of other races of people, and that, it's not dominated by one group, and that, there's, an elimination of chauvinism and sexism, so that way we can effectively build a new world, and that we don't bring in the negative characteristics of the old world into it. Duh. Like, that makes sense. The issue is that if you don't understand how class works, you don't understand how class maintains and shapes race, which is why we need to work through race in the first place, which is why people don't understand we need to abolish class, which is why people instead voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, because they think by putting people in color in power, they think, oh, racism is going to disappear. Oh, things are going to get better. If we have someone like us in power, none of this is going to fucking happen. No, dude, the system literally operates on oppression. It literally operates on oppression. There was still all this fuck shit. Ferguson happened under Obama. And people don't really realize that they don't really realize that, and they don't understand that, like, he literally is serving colonial interests, imperialist interests, and capitalist interests, which is why he was like, we need unity, we need hope. It doesn't do anything. It's just like, we need to just hold in together. This is just part of how it works. I know it sucks, but just deal with it. That's not how that happens. There was something I read today too about this principle. What was his name? He was this African American principal, and he was really hard on his students in Jersey, and he basically like brutalized the kids and never really made the reforms through his disciplinary actions that were needed to keep the school from being from getting state overwatch from New Jersey. So basically, he was disciplining black students really hard, like suspending kids and pumping them into the school to prison pipeline, and doing all this crazy disciplinarian stuff. Made up a school song that if they didn't sing it upon command, they were disciplined. It didn't work. None of it worked. And one of the critiques was black children are policed to the point where they can't feel fluid in their bodies in the same way that white people can and white children can. And that's why, it's important to understand the class dynamic, because if you keep focusing on race and saying, no, this is the more important issue than class, you're going to get incidences like that high school, or like Obama, and like what's going to happen with Joe Biden and Kamala. We're not going to get real systematic change because we're not looking at the money. We're not looking at the economic motive behind all this stuff. So that's why I hate all this like social media discourse, because it doesn't matter. None of it's rooted in reality, and most working people don't give a shit about it. It's stupid. It's so stupid. Let's see. What else do we got? What? Oh my God. This one is so stupid. And I think... Oh, and then here's the second one. Okay. These are the last two, I promise. It's a scam. Bernie's plan would result in the deaths of hundreds of millions of people by freezing. We need to make sure fossil fuels are affordable and available, as deaths from climate disasters are at the lowest level since records began. What the fuck? Dude, hundreds of millions, bro. There's like 300 million people in America. You're gonna say like a third of the not a third. You're gonna say 2/3 of the country is gonna freeze to death, bro? No, that's not how getting rid of fossil fuels works. You stage it out. You build alternative and green energy over a 10 to 25 year period, and then you slowly start cutting off all the fossil fuels and getting society on track with clean energy. That's how it works. And climate disasters are not at the lowest level. We've had more hurricanes in 2020 than I think we've had in the past 100 years. Shut the fuck up. The magazine only stands for socialists at Time magazine. That's why Time put Hitler as Person of the Year. I need a minute. 1 second. I need to drink some water because I'm going to do a lot of screaming. Okay. Okay. Hitler is not a fucking socialist. The reason why people think Hitler is a socialist is because his ideology, National Socialism, has the word socialist in it. And the Nazi Party, which is called NSDAP, so it's Nationalsozialisten Deutschen Arbeiterpartei, or National Socialist German Workers' Party. Because it has socialist in the name doesn't make it socialist. What you need to look at is what the party stands for. And what the party stood for was ethnic cleansing, which is not what socialism is about. It's about national self-determination for minority groups. The complete opposite. 2, the party still believed in the preservation of capitalism, with only key industries being owned by the state. And 3, Nazism operated on similar principles of manifest destiny, which is Lebensraum, living space. They wanted to expand Germany up to the Ural Mountains, exterminate the Slavic people, and make room for Germans to reproduce and live there. The same concept as manifest destiny. Hitler being Person of the Year, I don't know why Hitler was put as Person of the Year. I really don't know why, but it certainly wasn't because he was a socialist. In fact, let's figure it out. Hitler. Okay, Time wrote a thing. 130 years after Hitler's birth, he continues to live as a symbol of evil. Well, are they going to tell us? Okay. Hitler appeared on the cover of Time on multiple occasions, most famously on January 2nd, 1939, when he was named Man of the Year. That choice abided by the dictum of the Time founder Henry Luce, who decreed that the Man of the Year, now Person of the Year, was not an honor, but instead should be a distinction applied to the newsmaker who most influenced world events for better or worse. In case that second criterion was lost on readers, the issue that named Hitler dispensed with the portrait treatment that the cover subjects typically got. Instead, he was depicted as a tiny figure with his back to the viewer, playing a massive organ with his murdered victim spinning on a St. Catherine's wheel. Underneath the stark black and white illustration was the caption, "From the unholy organist, a hymn of hate." Oh. Shoot. Yeah, look at that. Okay. Wait, let's view this image. Can I view this image? I can, but it's really small, but it's true. Okay, so that makes sense. That's why Hitler was on the cover of Time magazine in 1939. So he wasn't put on for being a socialist. He just made the most press, and it was bad press, and it was really bad press. And they made that the illustration on Time magazine. So, yeah. Hitler was not put on because he was a socialist or in any positive way. He was just there for the aforementioned reasons. So I need tea. I need to make tea. That's how I calm down at night, is I drink tea. I hope you guys enjoyed all these really bad takes. I certainly did not, but I hope this was entertaining for you. Um, I guess the sad part about entertainment is that it's entertaining for the consumer, but it's pain for the creator. Nah, I'm just kidding. I always have fun on Backpacking America. Hope you guys do too. Episode 68 coming out Monday. That's right, Monday. We're keeping that Monday Friday schedule with a Wednesday Sunday YouTube schedule. You may notice new camera quality going on. I found my GoPro, so we're using that now, so things are probably gonna look a little better. And I'm also gonna do a new exploring series where I'm gonna go through new places and kind of do Backpacking America's original scheme, but in a safer manner and more focusing on the wilderness rather than meeting new people, because COVID and your boy doesn't want to die. So until next time, my friends. Thanks for listening, y'all. Make sure to give BPA a follow on Instagram at Backpacking America and Twitter at BPA Podcasting. Make sure to like BPA on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. The links can be found in the podcast description. Until then, take it easy and stay breezy.